Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Unstoppable. I'm your host, Ralph Graves Jr. Now listen, guys, here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Listen, with all going on in the world today, I had to get in contact with a woman that was really doing it. She's from my area here in South Jersey, but she's global. She's also worldwide. The Honorable Demetrica Todd Ruiz Esquire. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me. Wow, what an introduction.
Did I do the intro right? I did the intro correct.
Thank you.
I thank you for coming on the podcast. I just wanted to have you on. Your journey has been a miraculous journey. I just wanted you to share it. I want to talk about it. There are young men and women that need to know that they can be successful in whatever they set out to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my lights went off in here. Hold on. They're activated. If you're watching the video, excuse me. Okay, there we go. All right. But if you're listening, you didn't see what happened. But anyhow, talk to us about where were you born and raised? Let's start there.
Absolutely. So I always start off my intro with the fact that I am a product of public school, public housing, and public education.
Okay.
So the school and education and actually public assistance, right?
Okay.
So grew up in Bridgeton, New Jersey and Maplewood Gardens.
All right.
Went to elementary school, middle school, and high school in Bridgeton.
All right.
The youngest of four. Okay. And I'm 9 years from my next sibling. So it was almost like I was the baby, or I was the baby, but like by myself when they had all gone on to do what they went on to do. Okay. So that's my beginning.
Now, let me ask you this. During this time, did you want to be a judge? Because a lot of times people think that kids or young people ought to know right away.
Yeah.
Did you want to be a judge?
I'm glad you asked that. For me, the answer is yes. From the not judge, right? Lawyer. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And that was as early as you could, I could answer the question. As early as you would ask the child, what do you want to be when you grow up? My response had never wavered from lawyer. And that was because I would see TV shows. Back then, it was Matlock and Perry Mason. Yeah. Now we have the equivalent of like the different Law and Orders. But I thought what a lawyer was that a person who had a special skill set that would help the underdog. I just saw them helping people that had been wrongly accused or they weren't the guilty party. So not until I actually, grew up and went to law school, actually, that I learned that there was just a plethora of areas that you can study in the law.
Yeah.
So initially, I thought I would be going into either criminal defense or civil law, helping individuals. And truth be told, I started off as a business and tax attorney.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had this vision, and I'm glad you talked about it because I always talk about how important vision is, whether you catch it when you're young or whether you get it when along the way.
Right.
And so you were able to hold on to that vision and keep it through the ups and just through life, whatever life was presenting, you were still. So how important would you say vision is in the life of all of us? We're talking
Absolutely.
vision.
Yeah. It's very important, right? I would say that vision is very important. And again, like you said, there's no magical age or number when it shows up, right? And even when it shows up, that it shows up clearly. So I think for me, the vision and the passion went hand in hand. So when I was able to really articulate and mold out what I was passionate about, and I answer that question now. My passion is helping others. So when I was able to figure that part out, then the vision became more clearer because again, I started off as a business attorney and I was in boardrooms, I was doing transactional work, really definitely not face-to-face with individuals in the courtroom because all of our deals took place in a room with fax machines at the time, but now we have, we have DocuSign. So that wasn't helping me articulate, right, my passion or my vision, because I wasn't having face-to-face interaction with the people that I was actually helping. So once I got into criminal law, and my story is simply that God directed my steps. I never thought that I would be in criminal law.
So how were you able to, you're in the boardroom and it's part of it, and it's, okay, this is not really what I want to be doing, I guess. Right. How were you able to hold fast? How were you able to grind through that? And I try to tell people along the way, listen, you're going to have to do some things you don't want to like, but what helped you hold on during that period? Did you know that you were coming out the other side eventually, that you eventually get out that boardroom?
Well, listen, I am a woman of faith, and I didn't dislike what I was doing, right? It just wasn't feeding my passion. Okay. So at some point, and it was very early, it took only maybe 2.5 years when I said, you ask yourself the question, is this something that you can see yourself doing? Especially when you're at a law firm, that you can see yourself doing for the next 10 to 20 years. Okay. Right. Okay. And that answer for me was no. Okay. This is not something I could see myself doing for the next 10 to 20 years. Yeah. And because I couldn't answer that question, right? My answer to that question was no. Now it's like, life is too short. Tomorrow is not promised. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Yeah. What are you going to do about it? Yeah.
So you talking my language now. And this is what this Unstoppable podcast is all about. Wow. Yesterday is gone forever.
That's right.
Tomorrow never comes. It's what are you going to do now? Right now. What are you going to do right now? So you're able to keep that fire burning, and you gave yourself 2 years, you say, wow, this is not really fueling what I want to do. How did you make that transition? How does that transition occur? You got your law degree, you passed the bar, you're doing your thing. Yeah. How did that transition occur from the boardroom to the courtroom?
That was a very, very good question. So again, the Lord just simply ordering my steps in his divine plan, right? So I had my child, my one and only child. She was born 2 months before I graduated law school. She was born. Okay. So I had an infant child. So that helped me make my decision, because in that regard, I had lost much time and many years from her initial early years, because I was working so much. Okay. I was working so much in that boardroom that I was missing my daughter grow up. Sure. So the steps that were ordered for me were that at the time, my husband at the time, her father, we were in a position where it was like I simply said, listen, this is not what I want to do. I'm not sure what I want to do or where God will lead me. Yeah. But guess what? I do know that I want to be a mother, and I've missed that for 3 years. So I was able to take a hiatus. I just took a hiatus, not knowing what was next. Yeah. Yeah. Not knowing what was next.
Yeah. And so, you said you're a woman of faith. The listeners know I pastor a church, and you and I run in the same circles. Okay, the secret's out, the cat's out of the bag. Let's talk about that faith walk. Let's talk about that faith walk. Let's talk about your relationship with God and able really to hear him ordering your steps. Because a lot of people kind of miss that. We sing those songs, order my steps in your word, and we preach it, we teach it, but we really don't know to listen for it. How was it for you listening to that? This is divine, what is happening. These are divine footsteps. God is guiding you along the way. How was
absolutely. Absolutely. So while I'm home, and at this time I was living in Camden County, home, raising my child, and I received a phone call from our then and current mayor of Bridgeton, my hometown, Bridgeton, New Jersey, and I received a phone call from his agency, which was Tri-County at the time. Okay. And my sister had been working at Tri-County for many years, and I think that's how he knew that I was home, not doing anything, and asked me, hey, there's an opportunity here in Bridgeton where we are looking for a project administrator or manager to oversee some grant funds that will revitalize the projects where you grew up.
And
right?
now you're already doing, and you were doing tax assessment. You were in the proper wording.
Right. So I had been doing that. And then I said, well, and I thought to myself, well, usually when you go to school, you go to college and you grow, right? And you get into some type of field or career, that usually takes you away from home, right? It takes you away from where you grew up, because in my mind, that was growth, right? You just don't stay where you had been. So I'm like, well, why would God want to take me back to, a town or a city and a county where all of the statistics, they are high in all of the negative statistics, right?
Come on now, come on.
Right. So God, why is it? Is this really you? Are you sending me back there? And then I got word that I wasn't the CEO's and mayor's first choice. I wasn't his second choice. I don't even know if I was his third choice. But whatever happened, first, second, and third fell through.
You were God's choice. You were God's choice. This is choice you were.
Exactly. So when I learned about that, and I'm like, wow. And I will tell you that I did not stay home very long. From the transition where I went from, okay, I'm going to take a hiatus, I don't know what I'm going to do next, to a phone call. And all of that transition within 1 month, without me knowing. I didn't know that was going to happen.
But Your Honor, we're not in the courtroom yet.
Oh, let's talk about it.
We're not, I'm just saying, this is a great, and we're watching God order your steps. This is phenomenal. And you had a month hiatus. And I'm talking to the judge. I'm talking to a judge right now. I'm talking to Your Honor. But at this point of the story, we're not even in the courtroom yet.
At all.
How do we get to the courtroom from here?
At all. That is also a good question. So because the CEO of that nonprofit agency was also the mayor of the town, I was able, upon hiring, to negotiate my terms. Okay. And my terms were, I am still a lawyer, although I wasn't being hired in any legal capacity for this position. But I said, I am still a lawyer and I still want to use that skill to help others. So in that regard, I am going to need you to agree that you will allow me to go to court 2 days a week.
This is so juicy. If I can't even think of another word. Come on, Pastor, you got to use another word. But no, this is so juicy because because this is what happens to a lot of us. Mm-hmm. We get called to a positions, paying well and doing good, and we lose sight of our vision. We begin to operate. God blesses us with something to support the vision. And a lot of times we abandon the vision for what he has provided to support us with. But you didn't do that. You said, wait a minute, this might support my vision. So I need to be in the courtroom. How are you able to hold that? You've been holding this vision since you were a child.
I know. Listen, and again, I'm telling you, it's divine intervention. The Holy Ghost is real.
Yeah, he is. He is.
The Holy Ghost is real. And that is it. It's the Jesus that lives in me that has just manifested, right? Manifested what he has had, his vision for my life. And hopefully, I want to say that I have been obedient most of the time, right? Because we're not always obedient.
Right.
I want to say that I've been obedient most of the time.
Thank God for grace. Thank God for grace.
Amen. How about this here? Amen. As I tell everybody, but God, God. Right. So that's what happened. So I started off because there was another a Black female attorney in the city of Bridgeton at that time who was serving as public defender. And she would use me periodically to substitute for her when she when she wasn't able to be in the courtroom. So I would substitute for her as public defender. And then she actually moved away and went to Atlanta, and she recommended me to fill her position, which would then made me the full-time public defender. And but that still only required me to be in court 2 days a week. And then from there, again, it was still 2 days a week. It was half day, right? 2 half days per week as public defender. Yeah. And then I was appointed, because all of these are appointments. Okay. Right. So in New Jersey, when you are in positions such as public defender, prosecutor, or even the judge, they are municipal appointments, meaning the mayor and his or her council are appointing you to these positions. Yeah. So I was appointed for the public defender, which was 2 half days. And then I was appointed to the prosecutor position, municipal prosecutor position, which required 2 full days per week. Okay. And again, thankfully, I had negotiated this early upon my hire, and I was able to continue to be in the courtroom while also working at the nonprofit.
Now, let me backtrack. Let me help somebody out along the way. Mm-hmm. God will bless your purpose when you don't abandon it. So the blessing that he set alongside you was not to knock you off course for the overall vision he gave you for your life. I don't know who we're talking to. We're talking to somebody. And God blessed you in your purpose when you didn't abandon it for the blessing. All right. A lot of times we abandon, like I said before, we abandon our purpose for the blessing that runs alongside of it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so here you are. And I hope people are listening. These are appointed positions. Who moves men and women to appoint people? Okay. God does.
Okay.
You're not on the phone making calls. You weren't even petitioning. I hope you are getting what we are putting out there today. I hope you are understanding that when you hold to God's unchanging hand and you hold to the vision he has for your life and you don't get distracted. Again, we're talking to a mom at the time. Don't say, well, I have the kids. She had a child. Right. She had a child. So anyway, this is where we are. This is where we are. And we're not even done yet. I'm talking to your honor. I'm talking to the honorable. Okay. So real talk. So let's speed up a little bit, right? Because so you're in there now. Are you a public defender or are you a prosecutor at this time?
Oh, okay. So at this time now I'm prosecutor, right?
Prosecutor. Okay. Now I'm prosecutor. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Have you've been a public defender as well, or no?
Yes, I had been. Yes, okay. I was public defender first, and before I moved into the prosecutor position.
I guess a judge would have to be.
That's not necessarily. Like, it actually helps, right? It helps when it comes to cases that come before you, because and even those your colleagues who are attorneys representing litigants that come before you, because you've been on both sides, right? So it helps in that regard. But again, when we talked about being appointed, it's about relationships and and how God moves these certain people to put people in position. Yeah.
So you're a lawyer. How does a lawyer become a judge? I just need to know, just for me, how does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So in New Jersey, to be a municipal court judge, you just need to have been practicing for 5 years. Okay. To become a superior court judge, you need to practice for 10 years. Okay. And again, municipal court judges are appointed by city council, by mayor and city council. Superior court judges are appointed by the governor. That goes through like your local legislators, which would be your local state senator and state assembly men and women. So the first time I thought, when a vacancy became available to become a municipal court judge, I thought that should have been me. Okay. And it was not me. Like, I was not chosen. I was not appointed. And past that, I tell you, I was angry. Okay.
I know.
I was livid. Yeah. How dare you overlook me, right? Yeah. For someone else. And thankfully, God has placed people in my circle who are also believers. And I had a woman who was just in my ear, who encouraged me and simply just continue to tell me, you know what, Demetrica, all in God's time, right? Yeah. God is always on time. Yeah. So just because you think it was time for you, it was not his time for you. Right. Yeah. And that became so much clearer when I, in fact, did maybe 5 years later get my first appointment to the bench. And it just became so much clearer, because I would tell you that I was indeed in a different place and indeed like more ready, right? Sure. If I thought I was ready before, I was even more prepared for the blessing that he was about to bestow upon me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to have the right people around you. I say it over and over and over and over again. You have to have encouraging, you have to have people that help you ascend. And when I say ascend, I mean ascend into
a good word. I like it.
Ascend into your full potential.
I like that. I like that. Because listen, it's important. It is very important. Because I tell when I go and speak to the youth now, I'm always speaking about positive energy. Like, you have to be careful the people that are around you.
Yeah.
Because you and what you put out is usually what you get back, right? So make sure that you are surrounding yourself around people who support you, who encourage you, who are not tearing you down, and who are feeding you with positive energy. Yeah. Because negative stuff, right? Negative stuff brings you down. It's burdensome. The negativity is just burdensome. So
if I want to grow into my full potential, ascend into my full potential, I can't have any weights. Paul says laying aside every weight. And so I have to identify what might be a weight in my life, whether it's a person, whether it's a habit, whether it's an attitude.
Say it.
It might not be a weight for you, but it might be a weight for me. So
that's right.
I'm trying to, I got to let that go. That's a weight for me.
I like it.
Yeah. So it's important. So you had the right people around you to make sure that they didn't feed that bad attitude. They didn't feed that negativity. They didn't feed that disappointment. I should say that disappointment.
How about that? Yeah.
They didn't feed your disappointment. They said, girl, hey, listen, this is God's plan. God got you. God got you,
And it's not easy, right? When God says wait. When God says wait, right? It's not always easy, but trust him, and you just exercise that mustard seed faith. I mean, just trust him, right?
And let me ask you this. So, and I seriously, are you a Superior Court judge now, right?
Not yet. I'm municipal court.
Municipal court. Okay. Yes. All right. I just prophesied. I just made a proclamation. You will be a Superior Court judge. Let me ask you, what are some of and let's just jump to it a little bit. So we made it there. What are some of the expectations, Black female judge in Cumberland County, New Jersey? If you're listening globally, Cumberland County, I guess it's like every other small town, but we have a large minority population in Cumberland County. See a Black female judge.
That's right.
We, being a former police officer, there is never enough representation of Black males on the police department.
Right.
For whatever reason. I can say that because I was in it. I went to my academy class. 60 of us graduated. 2 of us was Black. So,
wow, look at that.
Stuck us in the middle of the city, but whatever the case may be. So, what are some of the expectations when they come? Like, what do you feel? I know some of the expectations may have, but you're sitting there at the bench. What do you feel? What do you feel? Because the expectation that our people, or that any people, women, African Americans, minorities, and even our white brothers and sisters have, they all have a certain expectation of you. Right. What do you feel?
If I could share a story to try to answer that, again, as I was public defender and prosecutor, right? So as prosecutor, I was in a position, to say what cases that I'm going to move forward with, if I think I have a case or not, cases that I'm not going to move forward with. And the fact that I was back in my hometown again, right, where I grew up, in Bridgeton, where I grew up. So
everybody knows you.
Exactly. I know so many people that come before the court. So when I was the prosecutor, Pastor, they being litigants, and I would say friends, people I know that I grew up with.
Yeah.
They would say to me, you know what, Meech? My nickname is Meech.
Right. I was going to ask you. I know they called you by your nickname. Since you were honest, mine is Ralphie. So if you called me Ralphie, I know when we first. I know where we at. So they say Meech. So what happened?
Meech, right? Meech. Listen. If you say this is the best you can do, then I believe you, and I trust you, right? Okay. So I was thankful that I had gained the trust of my community, who look like me, right?
Right.
Black and brown, and who are now in the legal system. in the legal system for whatever reason.
Right.
So I appreciated that. And then I will tell you this, and I will never forget this image. I will never forget this occasion. The very first time, because my first appointment to the bench was Vineland, which was a neighboring town to Bridgeton, right?
Yes,
We're in the same county.
Sure.
So Bridgeton is where I served as public defender and prosecutor. So when I went to Bridgeton for the first time to substitute for that judge, Pastor, when I tell you there were a row of orange jumpsuits, meaning all the inmates who now in court, and a courtroom full of people, laypersons and litigants. When I tell you, when they said all rise and I walked in, they stood up and clapped, inmates and everyone else, for at least 90 seconds.
Wow.
And that did my heart so good because they know that I'm in a position, right, to deliver consequences and penalties for whatever they're coming before me, for whatever matter that is.
Sure.
But because they trusted me, knowing that I am a person that empathizes, that sympathizes, and I also know that there are, consequences to actions. And I try to communicate that, like, this is not me doing something to you, but it's a consequence of an action because we all have choices. We all have choices, right? We will to make choices, and we all make mistakes. Yeah. So that absolutely did my heart good. And now when they see me on video, because it's virtual, I have strength, and I sit in 3 municipalities now throughout 3 counties, Cumberland, Salem, and Gloucester counties. Okay. I have I don't know them, right? They only know me as the judge, and they're on the screen and they're in court before me. Sure. But I have many people that before they hang up, Pastor, say, Judge, it's so good to see you in that position. Judge, it's good to see a woman with locks in that position. And representation matters. And it does. The fact that I just suspended your license for 6 months, like you're not okay with it, but you understand it, right? Like you understand. Right. You trusted me with that, and you're still proud of me. Like, and people are still proud to see this brown girl from the projects with locks. Sitting with a black woman.
I got a granddaughter. She's I better get it right. She's six. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she'll be 7. She'll be 7 soon. Hey, Naomi. So she comes to you and she tells you, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a judge. How do you encourage her to hold on to that?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to say, Naomi, right now, you're going to go to school, right? And I want you to get good grades. I want you to go to school every day. And as often as you can, unless you're sick. And then we're going to start thinking about where you want to attend college when it's time. And that's in high school, 10th, 11th grade. And you're going to do your very best when it comes to like doing your best, right? I raised a daughter. So I always said, you know what? All I can ask is your best. If you give me your best and your best is the C, then okay. But if you give me your best and the C wasn't it, then it's not okay, right? Right. So as long as you are giving me your best on every day, because your best might vary, Monday to Friday. So Naomi, like you're right, we're gonna keep what we have, this vision, Naomi, that you have in your mind, in front of you. You want to be a lawyer. You're going to say, I know to be a lawyer, I got to go to school. To be a lawyer, I got to go to college. To be a lawyer, I have to graduate a 4-year institution with the undergraduate degree. And to be a lawyer, I have to then go to law school. After that, I need to pass an exam so I can get a license to practice in this field. Yeah. Right. And then you start to nurture relationships, which means that you're going to be a part of organizations. You're going to continue to do things that fuel your passion outside of this legal arena. If that's volunteering at clinics that help veterans with, preparing wills. Sure. So things that continue to help fuel your passion while creating relationships, because that's also what it's about if you want to become the judge.
I hope you guys have listened and are listening. Not only what you need to do to become a judge, you need to do those things in every arena. Every arena. It's about reaching your full potential. And I'm telling you, the quickest way to prosperity is helping others prosper.
Listen. It is that's it. Like that is my passion. It does my heart. I don't feel right. I don't feel good if I am not helping someone else.
All right.
And that's it. It could be how I was raised, because I saw my mother volunteering at the church at least 4 out of 5 days of the week. Okay. We're not talking about Saturday, Sunday. And Sunday, when she was there all day, she's dragging me down with Meals on Wheels. She's dragging me down, feeding the community. Like, So I saw my mother give. Yeah.
So your parents, I tell, I'm a son of a pastor going on to be with the Lord, but my mom's still alive. I said my parents were drug dealers. People like they were drug dealers. I said, they drugged me. Every time the church was open, they drugged me there. They drugged me everywhere.
Listen, I'm raising my hand. That is I.
It's been so great to talk to you. How can some of my listeners, whether it be South Jersey, tri-state area, whatever the case may be, we globally, because they can talk to you virtually. What if they want you to come in as a speaker, to give a motivational speak, or how can they contact you? They're having a seminar. Where can they find you? Tell them how they can contact you.
The best way to contact me, like you said, is on a social media platform, but the best one is LinkedIn. And I am on LinkedIn under my name, Demetrica Todd.
And guys, you're going to see all of this in the link. She is a phenomenal woman. If you need someone to come and speak to any group of people, I know a lot of times they like to box us into one group, but any group of people, this woman right here, the Honorable Demetrica Todd Ruiz, will show up and do a phenomenal job. Thank you for being on the Unstoppable podcast.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for serving our community the way you do. 3 different counties. Thank you. Thank you for serving that way. And just again, thank you for being on Unstoppable program. Now, I have one question for you. One question. Now, you may have done your homework. You may not have. I always ask my guests this. If you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, where would it be and what would it say?
Oh my gosh, a billboard anywhere in the world. So I have to think of very busy highways. So I am right now, I'm going to go to LA because they have really
I'm about to say, don't you say Route 47, but go ahead.
LA, because they have traffic jams like all the time, like all day, like, what is it called? Rush hours all the time.
Right. Okay. Okay. So what would it say?
LA. And my billboard is going to say, continue to follow your dreams. Continue to pursue your passions and keep God first.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being part of the program. Thank you for being who you are. Guys, you've been listening to Unstoppable Podcast with Ralph Graves Jr. Share this with somebody, pass it along, and we'll see you next time. And remember, let's be unstoppable together. See you now.